us. I know that you've got this short little tiny window,
Mm-hmm.
but I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for.
Oh, this is important. No problem.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
So I don't know if you all, are you able to see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you all got the chance to accept the invitation for our task force Canvas shell, but please do. I made the homepage, the modules. On the modules, it'll have our agenda items for every meeting. I also threw up literature, articles, and research section. So please, please, please throw up there anything that you have found or that you are studying yourself, or maybe if you have a particular area of interest, like if Tawny is sort of like general education for business majors, you know, if you have, you know, Sue Edley might have something for writing intensive stuff. So if you find something, if you stumble across something that you'd like to share with the rest of us, please feel free to add it to this particular module. And then we'll hopefully cover this later on today about what we'd like to do in the future. So the first thing I'd like to do is to say hi to everyone. And of course, maybe pass the mic over to some of my colleagues who went to the conference in June. So there's Dr. Anna Londano of the Environmental Sciences. She was there. Kevin Manley, I don't know what we would have done without him. He was there too. He was sort of our technical guru. He could do everything. Matthias Wood, even though he had a newborn, was there as well. I didn't know this when I asked him to join the conference. So Matthias, my apologies, because that was,
It was good.
a lot. I know, it was a really, really interesting conference. We learned a great deal. And then of course, Robin Elder, our general assessment guru, joined us as well. It was a great group. It was really enlightening. What we learned was that Lindenwood is actually taken more steps than many institutions at starting to think about and reform the general education program, because we have now those 7 graduate attributes that I think are much more comprehensive, tells a much better story to our students, seems a little bit better fit for our university than the previous ILOs, that so many of them. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Kevin, and he can go through the PowerPoint that we developed as we sort of left this particular conference. And I think it'll hopefully recap for all of you what we experienced, what we learned, and how we want to take that information forward. So Kevin, I hope you can.
Yes, yeah, I'm ready to take over. If you would stop sharing, I'll grab the share and move ahead.
Perfect. All right, let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm done, I think.
Excellent. Okay, so we are all so excited that you're here with us, so we can start sharing some of the joy and the burden of the general education reform with everybody. It's been kind of lonely, just the 5 of us up till this point. So like Melissa mentioned, Robin, Anna, Melissa, Matthias, and I had the opportunity to attend a conference about general education assessment. And this is kind of the action plan that we built coming out of that. So going in, we talked a bit about our previous situation. We had this massive list of institutional learning outcomes. The number of them made it difficult to assess. It made it difficult to attribute meaning to them, and made it difficult to kind of tell stories around them. We weren't really, it was difficult for our students to envision these things in their lives. And then on the right here, it's really small, but I'm sure you all know it and you all love it, is our current general education plan, which is, a laundry list of things, a laundry list of important things, but a laundry list of things. So that was where we come from. And then this is where we were at when we arrived at the Institute, arrived virtually at the Institute, I guess I should say. These new graduate attributes being the term instead of institutional learning outcomes that describe who our students will be after their time at Lindenwood. these 7 goals, these 7 attributes: adaptable problem solvers, effective communicators, responsible citizens, global advocates, lifelong learners, analytical thinkers, and ethical decision makers. So we're going to be integrating these concepts into everything we're doing at Lindenwood. And so we were starting to think about how we could take these ideas and turn them into our new general education plan, be it fitting them on our current plan, revising the current model, or blowing the current model up and doing something else new and exciting. So that's what we went in, that's where we were at when we went into the Institute. And so our goals that we developed at the Institute, the biggest thing is we want to build trust among the faculty and among the community so that everyone feels that their voice is heard and that they're being a part of this change and this growth. And with that, we'll be communicating the need for collaboration. We want to be very clear that we're not just putting a plan forward for some sort of symbolic vote. This will be some sort of community discussion. Talking about synthesizing the graduate attributes into our campus culture. We want those 7 ideas to be part of our campus identity. We want people thinking about how students are actively working towards these goals. We've already been talking with first-year plans and new student orientation to be getting these concepts in front of students right at the beginning, so they'll know that this is what makes Lindenwood unique. This is my identity as a Lindenwood student. We want to talk about what we're calling the blow it up versus adapting the current plan to decide if we can fit these attributes under our current general education plan, or if we need to take a tabula rasa and start fresh. And then we want to preempt any potential turf wars. We want to make sure that everyone is part of this together and that this is a community development opportunity and not just a couple of offices telling the others what to do. So looking at our future situation, a few of our intermediate steps that we've already been taking are socializing the graduate attributes. So we've been developing some videos to share, been developing some different infographics to share around to really get people excited about these graduate attributes because they're really cool and they're really unique and interesting. A lot of other schools at IGEA said they're going to steal the term graduate attribute because it's such an exciting way to think about it. And then we're going to be doing some curriculum mapping. We're going to be continuing with our communities of practice model that Robin is so fantastic at and so fantastic at managing to keep faculty and students involved with the process. We're going to be celebrating our stories throughout. So we're going to be looking at, areas where these new graduate attributes are already shining and already coming out, and then sharing those stories to show how impactful they are. And then we're going to be developing and integrating some assessment tools to be able to assess our GE courses in relation to the new graduate attributes and potentially review some signature assignments as they relate to those attributes in the general education plan. So looking at our future situation, we're looking at some potential destinations and future goals. So thinking about ways we can make this general education plan lead to something and not be a laundry list of courses. So we've been talking about e-portfolios, we've been talking about GE capstone courses, talking about some more team-taught synthesis or learning community style courses, looking at badges and micro-credentialing, all very exciting things that we're excited to talk to you all about and see where we can build from there. A couple of potential barriers that we've identified, lack of trust and buy-in. None of this can happen the way that it needs to happen if the community doesn't trust that their voice matters. We're thinking about issues related to faculty deployment, especially related to those learning communities and team-taught courses that we just talked about. And then thinking about teaching resources and flexibility in time and space to make sure that our faculty have the resources that they need to really do this right and make sure that it's impactful for students. And then of course, thinking about our assessment tools. What are our communities of practice going to look like? What kind of feedback matrices will we have? What kind of signature assignments do we need to develop? So the first thing that's already been going on is thinking about culture building, how we're going to socialize this idea of general education being important and socializing graduate attributes with everyone. Again, we already have a video ready to go that we're going to share with you in a little bit, both for faculty welcome and for new student orientation. And then we're starting to look at some partnerships with student government, some college level promotions, some prospective student marketing materials, so on and so forth. Again, just to build the culture around these graduate attributes. And then a potential timeline might look something like this. And this would just be, we're socializing things last fall for the graduate attributes. And then we're starting to get into this middle phase, this phase 2, thinking about the program review and the design. And this is something that might change a little bit depending on our discussions and what we feel we need to do to make sure that this is done correctly at Lindenwood, to make sure that we're socializing everything, getting everyone involved. But this is kind of the perspective timeline we're looking at right now, to be delivering the catalog changes and the new process in was it 23-24? Is that what we talked about, Melissa? Yeah, the 23-24 academic year. And there's a couple of plans down here, but those are more for us talking at the Institute. So thank you all. That's what we did this summer.
Yes, indeed. First of all, does anyone have any questions about anything that we just that you were just shown by Kevin? I'm letting you know right now that most colleges had one screen of, if they had a PowerPoint, it was one page of a PowerPoint. And Kevin whipped this up in, I don't know, like 30 minutes. He's amazing.
It's all our marketing people. They have all of these great PowerPoint templates. I just pull one down, put words on it, and press go.
Yeah. Well, I know you're going to try to minimize your amazingness, but yeah, I'm sorry, everyone just saw that, and so we very much appreciate Kevin's participation. And something that I want to stress and highlight is that in this task force, Bethany and Kathy, when they were planning with me and Anna about who should be on here, they were very wise and very insistent that this be opened up to staff members, that this be opened up to first year communities, that this be opened up to students, that we really, instead of seeing this as merely a faculty driven change, it really needs to be a community-wide change and get as many voices as possible so that there's an integrated experience on this campus for our students. Because I think right now, frankly, our general education students just kind of like pick, they pick a course that fits in their schedule. They don't really put a lot of conscious thought into it. Part of that is because we have 20 minutes per advisee, and we're just like, come on, we gotta get something done. We don't have time to tell them why it's so important for them to take these courses. I think that'll be helped with Kevin's heading now. I mean, he's a part of this new mission of advising for students. So that will be helped, but it's also, I think, something that we as professors need to remember the importance of our general education. Remind ourselves when we were undergraduates. I know, for example, I became a philosophy and religion major as well as an English major because of my intro to philosophy course. It was so amazing. It changed my life. It changed who I was, and I wouldn't be teaching existentialism in literature had it not been for that course. And I'm still in touch with the professor who taught that, and still in touch with many of the students with whom I took that course. So that is to set up this video that we asked our Kevin, who put this together? I want to make sure we give credit. Oh, I think you're muted, my sweets.
It was Phoebe Mussman over in Advancement. She's fantastic at what she does.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to share that real quick with all of you, just in case you don't make it to that meeting on Wednesday. And I'm really hoping this works, fingers crossed.
In my home country in Argentina, we don't have a set curriculum for everyone. We don't have general education classes for everyone in college. So when I came here to the States and I came to understand what the general education curriculum meant, I thought, that is genius, that's wonderful, because this gives the advantage to our students to be exposed to different disciplines, different careers, different perspectives.
I think one of the classes that really stood out to me was I studied Swahili. It just really opened my world up to a whole different dimension that I had never even thought about or experienced. And then I actually got to travel to East Africa and actually be immersed. General education classes oftentimes, help provide a perspective that's different than your own. And so I think helping students to get to a place where they can really be open to differences and people who are not like them, or cultures that are not like them, or just even having an open mind to realize that your perspective is just one in a field of many.
coming in, sometimes as a freshman, it's like, oh, I just want to get into my major classes. But when you take those gen ed classes that are not related to your major or your choice or your idea of your study, it really opens up your mind and broadens your horizon to see what others are doing.
So I was a psychology communication major entirely because of general education. Taking those two courses just shifted my thinking in terms of what I was really interested in, which was what if I could really get to know other people? And that really kind of pulled me in to take some classes that when I started, I was uncomfortable, right? So taking a multicultural communication course and understanding that I have a privilege and how I communicate, and that I might use that privilege consciously or subconsciously in communicating to a marginalized population. Likewise, I have marginalized identities. And so how does that work? So really just got me thinking to just kind of slow down and reflect on myself. And I had not anticipated that.
It's just the fact that when we are given the opportunity to study things that it's outside of where what we say our center program is, that's where your brain really has to start thinking. It's starting to put things together that you've never been exposed to. You start to get ideas that you might have never had before.
The class that impacted me the most was probably my world history class. Dr. Kirk's class helped me to see that all of those stories aren't really stories. They are actual events in history that have impacted who we are today across the world. I was taking it all the way down to an individual level and not thinking about history, but just how I want to live every day and making it better for someone else that's coming behind me.
If we're an institution of higher learning, then we have to really exercise that love of learning and be able to show that and to be able to experience that in all different areas, right? And that makes us very well-rounded, and it gives us all sorts of different tools that we might not have ever thought we really needed.
And then we actually have 2 more video projects going on right now. One of them is going to be for the parents in the new student orientation program, and that one's going to be more alumni focused. So we had some folks went out and talked to some alumni in the area about general education, the courses that were impactful for them, how it enriched their lives. And Phoebe's working on that project still. And then we also have a bunch of footage that Robin and I took from a summer session with some of our academic affairs leadership, so some of our deans and directors. And Phoebe is planning on purposing those into more social media content. So she's thinking more like TikTok, Facebook, Twitter for those kinds of videos. So we'll have those coming out as well.
Thank you so much, Kevin. He was really instrumental. I know that the rest of us were like, oh, we're finished with the conference, let vacation to begin. So Kevin was really a great liaison to work with the different staff members on campus and making sure that actually was finished. So thank you, Kevin, very much for all of your hard work. Anna, do you want to take over the next section? I was thinking now that we could move into getting to know all of you. I know that this is a lot of information to sort of take in. We've been living and breathing this for, well, Anna and I for more than a year now. Robin, Bethany for sure. We knew, I think Robin, Bethany, we had a discussion, what was it, almost 2 years ago when I was, as I was GE chair for the GE committee, about how unsustainable the current ILO system is, and how it's really difficult to communicate the importance of GE when students are faced with this huge long list of, okay, these are the ILOs and this, even when, I sent you that link to our current page and our website, and there's nothing exciting about that. There's nothing engaging about that description. I mean, it's really hard when the focus is, 13, 15 different institutional learning outcomes, which is not something that, a student is going to gravitate towards institutional learning outcomes. So I wanted to emphasize once again that at this conference, I think Many institutes were very excited and very interested that we had moved towards 7 attributes, and that these attributes seemed to align with what kind of people do we want to lead Lindenwood. And it's not just the learning. It's like, what kind of people are we wanting to bring out into this world? Yeah, because this world we need more leaders, and we need more compassionate people and ethical decision makers and analytical thinkers. I mean, we need more of that. So anyway, I thought it's a really exciting change for all of us during the conference. It was, we were very proud of Lindenwood. We walked away like getting a lot of kudos, a lot of pats on the back. So it was a really interesting conference for that reason. We were sort of seen as leaders a little bit in this field because of this move towards these graduate attributes. And it's something, again, that I want to thank Bethany for, and Robin for, and Kathy, because they worked so hard at developing a better system, a better way of thinking about our general education and its purpose. Anna, with that said, though,
okay,
you need more questions than mine.
We're really happy that you all decided to, say yes to the invitation and join the task force. We're really looking forward to work with all of you as a group and come up with great ideas on how we can make, gen ed really exciting and interesting, and not something else, like Melissa said, something else to check it off the box, or have a student telling us, I'm here in this class because I have to, right? To make it more exciting, interesting, and engaging. So what I guess, to make sure I'm gonna miss anyone, I'm just gonna go over whoever is first on my screen. And then I guess the idea is, introduce yourself, department, because we probably don't, I don't know some of you, so that would be great to know where you are too. And also start thinking about that question we sent you out about what would you like to see in any GE program as we move forward? How do you envision, what would you like to see, or things that we can change, so we can start grabbing some ideas to have in our discussion as we move forward. So let's start with John. You're first on my list. John, you're muted.
Hi, I'm John Troy, art and design. I've been at Lindenwood as long as Melissa has been here, which is going on our 20th year. One of the things that I'm very interested in with general education, is the question of relevancy, which is always there for the students. Why do I need to take this? What is it? What does it have to do with my intended career, my interests? Am I ever going to use this stuff? And so I think communicating that to the students, or how they can be relevant to their major interests is important. So it's things like your ceramics. You're interested in ceramics. That's what you want to do. You need chemistry, and chemistry is going to be critical to your success, but we have to make the connection of how you use chemistry, or what the challenges are, the chemical challenges within ceramics, and same with, say, dance and kinesiology, connection as well. And so if we can build into these courses something that addresses to the individual student, oh, you're interested in ceramics. Okay. For this project, research, blah, 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 and chemical interaction with glazes that, et cetera. I'm not suggesting creating a chemistry for ceramics course, but how we build the individual interests into the larger program. So that's it for me.
Thank you, John. That was great. And Tani, you're next on my screen. Yeah, you're still muted.
If you hover over the bottom left of your screen, there's a little microphone. No.
I was trying to mute from here, but I can't for some reason. Only.
You should also be able to push and hold the space bar while you're talking if nothing else is working.
Oh, I guess she's gonna rejoin. Should
we didn't lose her.
Yeah, we did.
You want to pass the torch to someone else on and while Tani comes back?
Sure. Sue, Edley.
Hello, I am Sue Edley. I'm the director of the Writing Center. I also teach in the English department. I've been with Lindenwood for, I think, 14 years. Started as an adjunct and then was hired full-time. I'm really interested in the GE capstone because I think that's a really nice way to pull it all together. And then students will be able to take a look at what they've done, and then they will be able to make connections to how these things will help them in their chosen careers. Of course, I have to put in a plug for writing. I think some sort of sustained writing, because as we know, our students like to check the box. I have completed my compositions and therefore I no longer need to know where a comma goes. So some sort of maybe in that capstone class or a junior level writing. Sometimes in the senior capstones and the senior seminars, it might be too late. Especially, writing is kind of a use it or lose it skill. So those skills that might be rusty by the time they get through in 4, maybe 5 years. So I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see a little more, I guess, equity in maybe doing a co-requisite for our Composition 1 classes. So many of our students opt out if they can possibly do it to get out of English 110. And that will hold them back a semester. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't do well when they get into the comp, and then lo and behold, they're another semester behind because they end up with a D for do-over in the comps. So maybe moving to a co-rack, I think they do that in math. Maybe Matthias can speak to that, but just having that sort of extra support. And then again, it's critical if we continue to move to our 8-week courses. It can be a real, those are gateway classes, and especially English 170 is a prereq to many of the upper level classes, and to make sure that we're getting the students the support they need so that they can stay on that path, and not a stinking gen ed has been holding them back. So.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Tani, now
Yep,
Ah,
no, we're good.
Yay.
Yeah, I think my mouse wasn't properly plugged in. So anyway, thank you for your patience. I'm Tawny Hunt Ferrarini. I'm entering year 5 in the College of Business and Entrepreneurship now. And when I think about general education courses, and I thought we were supposed to go in and probe and see what it means to Lindenwood. And I think that given the light research that I've completed is that we want to build a base of knowledge that we can say that our students, when they walk across the graduation stage, that they have this knowledge that spans different areas, political, social, economic, and the list goes on. And within this base of knowledge, they've acquired these critical thinking skills across these general education courses that allow them to communicate in ways that are both diversified and inclusive of others, but understandable to not only themselves, but people who may or may not be like themselves. And then finally, I think that with general education, it is the foundation on which they leverage their career interests. It's a responsibility of the student to find out how these courses are connected to their various careers versus the faculty or the designers of the courses trying to connect it for them. We live in this dynamic world where everything is just a click away. And I think it's important to teach our students, or at least lead them in the direction where they don't have to be told, but they investigate and they research and they seek answers outside of their small niches on social media and the people with whom they usually hang out with. And so my hope is that we work together and we get a cross-section of courses and subjects so that we can have students that we know that once they've acquired these entry-level skills, that whatever they do decide to do beyond them, they can be productive citizens of the world, engaging and respectful of others.
Thank you, Tawny. Great, that's great. Robin, you're next.
Thank you. I'm Robin Elder. I'm the Director of General Education Assessment. I'm also an assistant professor in the College of Education and Human Services. Just wonderful ideas and thoughts shared so far. I agree with all of those. And one of the great things about attending the conference over the summer is we were able to see how different colleges and universities have shaped their general education programs and learn a great deal from those. And one of them had, not to be too specific, you know, I feel like all these thoughts are just so like wonderful. I just would say that one college, I'm blanking on the name right now, but I'll find it, had sort of grouped their general education program in sort of these themes, you know, of sort of like, oh, multicultural, you know, humanities, right? So like these different groupings, and you could then take courses from each group. And it just made me think about, you know, we could maybe use the graduate attributes in that way with the general education program, where you could say, you know, when the courses are aligned to the graduate attributes, you know, using the great equivalencies that Melissa and Anna have come up with, when, you know, everyone's able to do that, and then students can come in and say, oh yeah, I want to do this analytical thinking course, and I'll do this, you know, civic responsibility course. That, you know, I'm not saying, and then that's the way we should do it, but it just made me think, I just think you have a lot of opportunities to say, to have really, as like how John was talking about the individual, right, is to just really sort of say, oh, what speaks to me? And it could get more theme-based, or, you know, what is it? What is something that speaks to you? Because maybe you don't know if, you would maybe necessarily like a chemistry class, but maybe like, oh, but I would like to know more about analytical thinking. And then maybe you end up in a chemistry class. So that could maybe be a cool way to do it. It just really made you think about different ways to organize it. But anyway, just very exciting to sort of think about things in a new way. And excited to learn from all of you. So just great conversation.
Thank you, Robin. Maite.
Hello, I'm Maite. I'm a professor of Spanish. I'm in the College of Arts and Humanities. I think I've been at Lindenwood for 13 or 14 years, but I think Sue has been here longer than me, so I'm not sure. I have my 10-year pin. I don't have the 15, so I'm in somewhere in between there. I've been listening to all of you, and I've been liking a lot of the things that you were saying. And one of the things that I was going to comment was on the idea what Robin was saying, these kind of themes for different classes, kind of give the students an idea of what to go. And also something that it's in the document that you sent at the beginning of the summer, with all the information that I just read 10 minutes ago. But I think you mentioned, Kathy and Beth, you were talking about like grading certificates and kind of different badges or credentials. And I think that would be something that would be very interesting to the students, knowing that, okay, so I took this class and I liked it. Well, if you like this class, you probably will like this one. And if you continue doing this, besides taking things that are going to be important to you, then you are going to end up with a certificate, or maybe you can continue to the minor. And that's something that we already kind of have with the Spanish, but the students a lot of times they don't know about it. They are taking a class, well, just because it's one of their requirements. They could take it, but I'll just take another requirement. Well, you know, this other continuation class is going to fulfill that other requirement. So I think that's something that, and of course, I'm gonna go for Spanish because, of course, you need to know Spanish in this country these times, but other things too. I'm sure I should learn about probably a little more of science stuff that I don't know much about, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Maite. Matthias.
Hello, I'm Matthias. I'm with the math department. I've been at Lindenwood for roughly 4 years, I believe. And one thing I really liked when we first rolled out the Gen Ed requirements and the new outline was that it kind of forced us to be more focused or more intentional on making like critical thinkers or problem solvers, at least for statistics. Those were the 2 ILOs that we liked. But I don't think we did a good job making them like as forefront and as on purpose as we are with these 9 graduate attributes. So I'm really excited that we're focusing on that with these new, with this new GE push, with this task force. And I'm just really excited to map those to courses and to help be more intentional on graduating students with purpose, as opposed to kind of this little behind the scene thing that just faculty worry about, but that students get to kind of like the badges idea that they get to get excited about.
Thank you, Matthias. Kathy?
Muted. I'm muted. I'm here as a guide / Sherpa. This will be the 3rd time I've been involved in Gen Ed revitalization. And I echo the excitement that other folks have already spoken about today. But one thing I do want to say is sometimes what you think is, the program's going to look like at the beginning is nothing like it looks like at the end. And that's still wonderful. And so don't be constrained. We want to do something different. We want to do something really meaningful for the students at this university to make them distinctive contributors to character. We want them to be educated. We want them to be good citizens and people of character. So I think that's where we'll end up, and we just have to get there.
Thank you, Kathy. Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Valenzuela. I'm new to the university, so I've counted it up. I think this is like my 11th day here. So it's very exciting to be able to meet all of you. My background is actually in civil engineering. My faculty title is Associate Professor of Civil Engineering. I have no department, apparently, and no students or faculty colleagues. But certainly as Associate Professor for Engaged Learning, I'm very much interested in this idea of service learning and how it might be able to fit into the general education program, not necessarily just in like a one and done sort of thing, but I like this idea of, I think Tani had mentioned it and other folks have talked about like capstone experiences. How can this be infused throughout 4 years as an arc? So how can we maybe structure the first couple of years as a time for encounter, especially encountering differences and the big questions? And then how can we move them into the community so that they'll be able to dialogue with different communities to see what their needs are, right? And then that gets into like the analytical part of like, can we partner with our different communities to understand maybe statistically or scientifically, what are those needs? And even I love this idea of capstone courses where they might actually start to partner and to engage and to come up with solutions that they can try either on a global scale or local scale. But I'd like to also wonder, especially as we're thinking about retention and engagement, how can the senior year be structured such that it's about reflection on the things that they might have done earlier and also building up like a legacy? Like what's their legacy as leaders, as team members, as collaborators? So that might help to structure, hey, what's the next cohort? What are the other freshmen going to be able to do? Kind of interested in all of these possibilities. And this is the thing that's exciting, combining both the general education revision with understanding what you all as faculty members have lived throughout all of your experiences and then making this the best experiences for our students. So I'm excited to learn from all of you.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome. Christy.
Hello, I'm Christy Rogers. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student and Academic Support Services. I think it's very exciting to be in here because I see people like John and Melissa. I haven't seen your faces in forever as far as committee members, so it's delightful. Going through the email that Melissa sent out for questions for us to ponder. So what the group has said, some words like intentionality and engagement and those pieces, bringing that purpose to general education. There was a group of us, and Anna, you were a part of that micro-credentialing group, for folks who would really like to see that mapping and some engagement opportunities within those gen ed. So those high impact practices. So first year programs is one of them, right? So the freshman seminars and the learning communities that we are potentially going to propose and have those a part of the gen ed curriculum as well. In the future, we have Justin Barton, who is our new first year programs director, and he has a lot of experience with those learning communities, but really creating, and those of you who've been around me for a long time, so I've been around Lindenwood since about 1990 as an employee. I've left and come back again. This is my third time back for those of you who don't know me, so I'm a boomeranger. But creating that environment of FOMO, that fear of missing out, right? So those students feel connected, and those gen eds are helping them connect the dots to other classes, to their major, and to each other. And so really that's the purpose of all with gen ed that I hope we accomplish as part of this process. So I'm really excited to hear these conversations that are taking place. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. I have Adam. Hello. Adam, are you here?
I'm here. Sorry.
Hey, cool.
Not just like stealth joining the meeting. None of us have ever done that. I'm going to turn my camera on for this part. Hi, I'm Adam Valencic. I'm one of the instructional designers here for this task force. Bethany, I believe, was the one who asked me to join this. I'm maybe a little more behind the scenes or passive at this point. I don't work directly with students very often, and most of the courses that come across our desk are not gen eds. So I'm currently mostly working on like the new EDD and leadership things. That's one of my big tasks right now. I was on the assessment committee and the ILO subcommittee that designed the new graduate attributes. I'm on a lot of those sort of like in the background committees. So if something comes up that it applies to my area of expertise, then I'll join in. Otherwise, I'm kind of just a sounding board for anything that comes up. Instructional design, not sure you're familiar with it. It's kind of the odd duck of the education degree and program. So before that, my background was in writing and literature. So for all those, English people out there, like I've once upon a time worked for a for-profit school and literally graded over 2,000 essays a year. So I kept track once. It's a lot of essays. So, but my days of copy editing are done. Please don't ask me to do that. So yeah, if something comes up that it seems like my input's needed, absolutely. But again, I don't work directly with students very often as much, but happy to be here.
Thank you, Adam. Kevin.
Yeah, wow, circling all the way back up to the top.
Yes.
Well, hi, I'm Kevin Manley. Thank you for listening to my PowerPoint earlier. I am the Director of Professional Advising here at Lindenwood. And so with that, I'll be excited to see the ways that the professional advisors who will be working with our freshmen, sophomores, and new transfer students can really help make this new general education plan happen. We'll be kind of the boots on the ground who will be encouraging students, talking to them about why this work is important, and really helping, push this new program with our students. So I think that'll be a great opportunity and something that'll be really worthwhile. My undergraduate degree is from Truman, which is a liberal arts college. So I'm very, very passionate about, the liberal arts and giving our students that well-rounded perspective.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Melissa.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for sharing your ideas. I have pages and pages of notes, and then I remembered that Sue Edley, I sort of wrangled her to become our secretary. So I'm sure she's, yeah. And I want to throw this out there. I'm sure Sue wouldn't mind if somebody else really wants to be the secretary, please let me know. You can write me an email. We can do the whole voting process. But if not, Sue, I told her there was booze involved. And so she accepted because of that. That's right. So Sue, happy hour, sometime maybe Friday night. Okay, so Anna and I will take you out for drinks. Anybody else can join if you want. So this is I'm so grateful to all of you because I think we are all, I know your reputations precede you. You were chosen because of your ability to reach out to students, because you became a person in the classroom or a person working at a university because you really care about a quality education for our next generation, each and every one of you. And your particular discipline, I mean, Christy, her reputation is amazing. Kevin, your reputation is amazing. All the professors here. I don't know much about Adam. I'm so sorry, Adam, but you sound really cool. So we're all, I think, committed, and we have to hang on to that, because the next few steps are going to, sometimes they're going to get a little hairy. And we will have to, really be sort of a wellspring of both transparency and excitement about the changes that are coming. To that end, what I wanted to show you was, and I don't know if homework is the right word, but what I'd like for us to do as committee members, the next couple of steps. So let me share my screen here and go to the next couple of agenda items. So one thing, the next big agenda item on, if you could tell from our little timeline that Kevin had on his PowerPoint, it's probably really small. I saw John trying to peer, like the really small print. But the next big task is not just this task force, of course, but all of the departments to really start to think about the mapping. So taking our current ILOs and kind of trying to map them onto the new attributes, mostly so that we can kind of see what we're already doing, what we need to be doing. Are there graduate attributes? I'm thinking like responsible citizen what does that really mean? How can we maybe through service learning do a better job making our students more socially engaged? I think Mark talked about that. Tawny talked about that. This is important for, let's just be really frank here, for our democracy, moving forward. We need the next generation to be both knowledgeable about, what democracy is and how to be a responsible citizen, and then to put that into action, right? I think I know my daughter is one of them, this next generation who really wants to be socially active. They just don't know how, they don't know where, how can we make a difference? And I think Mark's point about having them at some point in the 4 years here engage with a community and communicate and really understand diverse peoples is really, really important. So to that end, we might, the first part of mapping will be to kind of try to figure out exactly what we're already doing and maybe the next couple of steps. What Anna did, and I hope this works, everybody, I hope my computer doesn't crash. She uploaded here. Now, this is not exhaustive. If you have a new course in your department from perhaps the last semester or two, they may or may not be on this list. But right here, you can kind of scroll through. This is the campus. And these are the current general education courses and their current skill and content ILOs right here. So one thing, and of course, Tawny's job is going to be very, very easy because there aren't a whole lot of business on here. The humanities folks, John, Mate, and I, we're going to be busy. The science folks are going to be very, very busy. But this gives us an overview of what the current ILOs are to to most existing general education courses. And then what else we have done, this was something that I worked on. I started trying to kind of map out the new graduate attributes and what I thought, given the KPIs and the definitions, the current ILOs, where there's some equivalency, there's some sort of a little bit of a definition or content or character development, some kind of overlap. And so you can see here that for adaptable problem solver, perhaps it's 2.2, perhaps it's 2.3, 2.4. So these are the current ILOs and how they may map on to the new graduate attributes. What we can see, those of us who have been in the general education committee, responsible citizen, for example, the two current ILOs that map on very, fairly nicely to responsible citizen or civic responsibility and collaboration. Let me just say this right now. I think there are what, 10? Less than 10 current general education courses that either have civic responsibility or collaboration as their ILO. So this right now, this responsible citizen, I think it's one of the current attributes that may not be represented very well in our current general education program. And again, this is an opportunity for people to think, well, I have this course, and if I tweak it a little bit, I think that my students will become more responsible citizens by the end of the course. Or it might be an opportunity for people to kind of think outside the box and think about completely new courses in their discipline that they would want to teach in another kind of general education course that would lead to responsible citizens. We've got global advocates, lifelong learner. The interesting thing, of course, is that when we take a look at like 2.3 could be lifelong learner, it could be adaptable problem solver, it could be analytical thinker. So we can see how this is, it's not going to necessarily be this wonderfully easy process, right? And what I really, really want to emphasize is that we are not the ones who should be making this decision, right? We should not impose on a math course what we think is its new graduate attribute. This really needs to come from the bottom up as well as the top down, right? This needs to be a real collaboration with professors who are teaching the course, with perhaps the curriculum committees in different colleges. They need to be invested and involved in this process. But that means that we as advocates on this task force, as representatives for our different colleges, we need to start making the folks in our disciplines and our colleges aware that this needs to happen. And that at this point, we need to get sort of that involvement, that excitement from our colleagues, because what we don't want to happen is for the timeline to start sneaking up on us, and then for us, out of just sheer pragmatic, getting things done, that we start to just kind of throw these on. That's what happened the last time, if you all remember. I know I walked into my class and I was like, oh, really? Existentialism is ethical? Really? Okay. Did anyone study Nietzsche? Because we don't exactly talk, like ethics goes out the window. But I've tried to make it work, but it has not been very smooth. And I think if I had been aware at the beginning, given a choice, what ILO do I think my courses actually, teach or reach or, help create by the end, I might have picked a little differently, if that makes sense, everyone. So we want to give this as an opportunity for professors to become a more, like we said, intentional part of this process. But, again, how do we do that? We know that our colleagues are swamped right now. We know that they're overloaded. We know that they're struggling to get their syllabi together. And so we don't want this to be okay, next week, we need you to do X, Y, Z. So I think for this next, as you're moving into even perhaps meetings in your smaller departments, meetings in your larger colleges, that you might just want to throw this into people's brains at this moment. Doesn't mean they have to drop everything and start to contemplate, but just make them aware that here are these new graduate attributes. We want you to be a part of the process. Start to think about what, which graduate attribute you think either your class now helps create, I help create a responsible citizen, or with a little tweaks, maybe it could fit very nicely. And that way, perhaps we, again, can get that collaboration. So it doesn't feel like this structure is imposed on folks. Anna, we had talked about wanting
a deadline, you mean? We one of the things we discussed was perhaps try to have this accomplished, the mapping, by the end of fall. Slowly working through the semester and get some initial mapping of the courses. So we can identify places where we will need to probably or encourage schools and like the different departments or colleges that there are opportunities that they can use to create a new course, adapt, or so. So it will be very important if we can have that, or initially a tentative mapping by the end of fall semester. So before like Thanksgiving break, which will give us time as a task force to meet after the Thanksgiving break and see what people have come up with. So if that could be, passed on to the different department meetings, that will be great. So everybody gets started on or thinking about that this needs to happen.
And during our Wednesday meeting, that's going to be our final push when we have that, hopefully a faculty member show up to the meeting. I think it's from 1 to 2 on Wednesday, right before the full faculty meeting. So if you can join that, that would be wonderful. We are going to sort of say, here are the members of the task force. So you might want to talk to them if you want further information. But again, we want this to be a different experience than the previous time when, again, because of a crunch for time, I think a lot of this was done sort of during the summer, not for any nefarious reasons, just I think practical ones. But then it didn't really feel like the individual professors were invested, right? Because it was imposed. We don't want that to be the attitude moving forward, but we do need that, I don't know, collaboration from the beginning. So does anybody have any suggestions about how to do that or whom we should talk to?
Well, I think you got some information over was it the weekend? It seems like this is Friday already. from Bethany and from me. And I would just say that while it would be wonderful to have 100% consent to everything, that's likely not going to happen.
No.
But I think this is exciting. I think it's, we already have a majority of folks who are on board with this, from the board to, every person. It's not a surprise in terms of the attributes and how we get there. To quote Deb, as everybody quotes Deb, it's going to be a journey. And I think you guys are doing the right thing. You've got all kinds of folks who can vote on this call from various parts of the university, all kinds of folks who cannot vote, who might provide some help or guidance as needed. I encourage, obviously, this already, collaboration with faculty council. And you've got support. And I think the one thing you need is support, and you guys, hey, you got it. So, we'll be there.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, good. So that's the next couple of steps. What we're going to do next meeting is we'll go through our Canvas page. Please remember there's a spot to throw up research. So if any of you stumble upon, like Tawny, you've already done some initial kind of examination. If you see a model from another university that you think, hey, this is something we really need to look into, like a model that a school that does a capstone that you think is really interesting, or a service learning that is really unique, start throwing that up, because I think for me, seeing it in action on a different campus is really important. So there's that spot on our Canvas page. So if for next time, if you all want to bring something that you found to share, once again, it kind of gives us a couple steps closer to making this, whatever your vision is, part of a reality. If you could remind folks that to come to our Wednesday meeting, because I have a feeling that those are going to be the faculty members on campus that we can, again, Kathy, right? Like if they're interested in GE, they're going to be coming to that meeting, and those are the folks that we can use as okay, you're collaborating with us now. Let's go forward and work together. Because you're right, we're not going to get 100%, but if we can get a few key people in every department who know what's happening, then I think we, yeah.
And you get the benefit of Mitch and the process that he's gone through for the attributes. So you can ask for his advice as well, because he's just done that, and he and his team did a marvelous job.
Yes. So that's it for today.
I just wanted to say that we'll be sending a survey to find a time that is convenient for everybody to do, like a monthly meeting, just having to have a set time. So we'll send that in so we can have these fit in our schedule.
In general, just to get an idea, I'm guessing afternoons work best for most people. Is there a particular time or a day where you're like, please do not, this is not going to work, or a particular time or day that you think could?
I'm opposed to Friday afternoons on moral grounds.
Okay, no Friday afternoons.
So we're like, people like Friday 4 p.m. meetings are a no.
Yeah, those are just evil.
Hey, well, you know what? The university has said
there
are no meetings. There are no meetings Friday afternoons. Now, that doesn't mean you go home and you can't work. It means there are no meetings.
I never leave home.
Okay, so afternoon seems like better.
We'll throw out a monkey survey, try to find a time that works for most people, and then move on from there.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And we're super excited to start this journey. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll see you later, maybe on Wednesday. And until then, maybe I'll see you tomorrow at the kickoff meeting.
Okay. Hey, Melissa, could you stay on for a minute? It has nothing to do with this. It's something totally different.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.